हेलो एवरीवन। आज मैं आपको एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ बताने वाली हूँ। रिसर्च आर्टिकल्स क्या होते हैं, कैसे पढ़े जाते हैं, कैसे समझे जाते हैं, और रिव्यू आर्टिकल्स क्या होते हैं। ये दो इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर्म हैं पब्लिकेशंस की, जो आपके रिसर्च जर्नी का इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट होते हैं। अगर आप पीएचडी कर रहे हैं या फिर कोई भी रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट पे काम कर रहे हैं और फाइनली अपने पेपर्स पब्लिश कराना चाहते हैं, तो आपकी जो जर्नी स्टार्ट होती है वो किसी भी रिसर्च पेपर्स के पढ़ने से स्टार्ट होती है। तो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट रिसर्च पेपर्स आर, हाउ डू यू understand them, and what are review articles. These are two different very important forms of research publications. So this which you see on your screen is a research article which was published in Material Today Communications. So this is the name of the journal. Then 41 is the volume number of the journal. 2024 is the year of publication, and 110775 is the either the research article ID or the page numbers, depending upon the journal's format. So this is an Elsevier's publication production, because Elsevier's is one of the biggest publisher which publishes science, and there are thousands of journals which it publishes every month. So Material Today Communication is one of the journals which is published by them, and all contents are available on Science Direct. So the title of the research paper is Designing a Familiaride Loaded Citrate Functional Isomorphous Silica Nanoparticle to Investigate its Genotoxic and Cytotoxic Potential. So this is the title, and these are the authors of the paper. And then you will see their affiliations. AB means that the author is affiliated to both of these affiliations, which means that they are working in these two different places. So generally affiliations have to be inserted after the author list, and then this star specifically mentions about the corresponding author of the paper, which means the person who is supposedly the mentor or the supervisor under whose guidance the work was carried out. Then on the left side, this will have the keywords. So these keywords basically are the keywords which, when somebody searches on any of the search engine like Google Scholar or Science Direct or PubMed or any other search engine, then this paper should come in the list. So you have to be very wisely choosing about these keywords, because the more specific you are with your keywords, the better your paper is going to be found by the researchers working in the same field, and obviously there will be more chances of papers getting cited by those authors later. Then this is the abstract of the paper, which means the summary of the paper. Usually what it does is, usually the abstract basically initially starts with one or two line introduction about the sort of research area which about which you are going to talk about more in detail during your later sections. And then it talks about the kind of work, since we are talking about the research article first. So this research article especially mentions the experimental work. So we'll talk about the experimental work which was done, what is the aim of the paper, which techniques have been used, a little bit about the results which you get, and finally, in last one or two line, you will also mention about the application of this kind of work. So that is what your abstract is. Then introduction is the part of the paper where you introduce the topic of this particular research, starting from the work which was done on this particular topic as the very first work. You start elaborating upon that, and you keep on giving references of the papers from where you're reading. So you have to understand that how these references are cited. For example, if I'm citing one here, which means that this particular section should have some content coming in from this particular reference. So you have to be very careful while you are writing the reference. Also, I'll tell you a very important thing, that when you are writing the paper for the first time and when it is your first draft, you should not mention these numbers. I keep telling this again and again to all my students, because otherwise you'll keep messing up with the references at the end, because until the very last draft of your paper, which may be the third draft or the fourth draft or the fifth draft of your work, you might have to shuffle your text once in a while, and then if you are not careful enough, you might end up citing wrong references at the wrong points. So it's better to mention them as the author at all. I'll just show you how, what does that mean. For example, in this paper, you will see that it mentions Malik et al. And then this Konkaneswaran et al., then the year name. So likewise, you have to mention the author et al. So then you have to introduce the topic, talk about whatsoever work has been done, citing different kinds of references, and try to cite all those papers which are relevant specifically to this particular field, and keep on discussing this part until the very last paragraph of the introduction. So last paragraph of introduction usually has the again the summary of what you have done during the paper. That has to be the part of the last paragraph of this introduction. For example, here we have mentioned about the work which was carried out in the present work we have reported, etc., etc. So the last paragraph has to be the summary of the work which you have done. So what I'm telling you is the format of this research paper, of any research paper which you will write, right? And then you will have to talk about the methods, in which you will have to talk about all the materials and methods. For example, in this case, we have talked about synthesis of this particular type of nanomaterial, how they are synthesized, and then we have talked about different kinds of techniques which are used for the characterization of it, like HRXRD, then FTIR, etc., etc. Whatever technique you have used, you need to mention. And when you're mentioning the technique, remember that you need to give the name of the instrument also, from which you are you all the readings have been taken. Name, make, etc. has to be there. And then you have to elaborate upon all the sample preparation procedure, and then how that particular sample was recorded in this spectrophotometer, for example. So all that has to be given in detail, the concentration of the sample, whatever pH you have used, salt you have used, everything has to be mentioned. All this has to be part of the material and method. And then you have to do this exercise for all the techniques which you are using. Then you'll have to come to the result and discussion part of it, and you start elaborating upon each section one by one. For example, starting from the synthesis and characterization of the nanoparticle, you'll start talking about that, and then you start citing the figures. You might have given a scheme for your figure in the very first section, and then in the later sections, you will see that all the figures one by one, they will come, and you'll have to elaborate upon those figures. Be very careful while you are making the figures. Try when you're comparing things, you have to see that x and y axis have to be same. Then don't forget that you are numbering them well, A, B, C, D, or whatever. And then you have to be very careful while you are putting some figure again. Keep them short and crisp. Try to give more and more information in the figure itself, without making them too clumsy. So each and every section of the research experiments has to be discussed in the resultant discussion. And why we are calling it resultant discussion? Because you are giving your results, you are elaborating upon your results, and also you are discussing this with these results with reference to the already done work of people, some other researchers who have already done in this particular field, who have done some work, similar kind of work. So you will have to discuss the work. Finally, in case your work has some biological relevance, so it's always important to put that, because then in that case your paper becomes more relevant. And then the application part will obviously be more important to elaborate upon the importance of your work, and people will be more interested in reading it if you show that this work is very, very relevant in terms of a specific topic. So give that, try to give at least one figure of biological importance. Either give some mechanism or something. I mean, there has to be some figure related to that. That will be a good idea. And then finally conclude. So conclusion should have all the some should have the summary of the research experiments which you have done, a very crisp summary of all the research experiments, and then again at the end 1 or 2 line regarding the application of this kind of work. So then you will have to give credit to the authors, that which author has done what. So each author who is the part of this work has to be given some sort of task, that this particular person has done this, that, etc. And then you have to declare a competing interest, that there is no competing financial interest, competing interest to declare. Then you will acknowledge the grants or the fellowships from which are because of which you were able to conduct this particular study. And you can also acknowledge you can also acknowledge people and the instrumentation which were important for the for this work. And then you can give a statement regarding the data availability. Generally, if somebody requests, you will have to share that data. So that is the generally most of the journal's policy. And at the end you will give the references. So every journal has their own style. For example, just this journal has B.A. Chebner, which means that first and second name of the author, later the surname of the author, comma. So that you have to see, like every journal will have their own style. So name of the person, Al Galen, then the title of the paper, the resurgence of platinum-based therapy, and then Nature Review Cancer is the name of the journal, then 7th is the volume, 8th is the issue, then 2007 is the year, and then 573 to 584 are the page numbers. And then you will also have to give the DOI of that paper, so that anybody can just click on the link and reach to that paper. So that is how you write the research paper. I'll very quickly just brief you about the review article as well. So review articles are nothing like research papers are generally uh, the summary of the experimental work which you do in the lab. While on the contrary, review articles are the summary of the already existing work or the literature which has been done by people already. You just need to summarize that. You should not be adding any experiment which you are doing and writing it in the review. It has to be the work which is already published, which is already in the public domain, and you should be the one who should be just summarizing this as a whole. So again, this is the title, Progress in Biophysics and Microbiology, volume, year, and then likewise, this is the title and the author names. So this is basically, again, rest of the things I will not elaborate upon: keywords, abstract, and then introduction. And then generally review article will have some sections and subsections depending upon the kind of work which you do. You can add tables, you can add pictures, you can add the better pictures you have, or the better photographs or figures you have, the more chances are of publication for your research article or the review article. So be very careful while you are making figures. You need to make them very carefully. Good figures should be there, and then sections, subsections have to be divided based on the kind of review article which you wish to mention. I will not elaborate upon that more. I just wanted to show you that review articles are basically the summary of the already existing literature, already existing publications, and research article is basically all the experimental work which you have done in your lab. So that's the summary of that. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about today, especially regarding these two different forms of publications. I hope you will understand this more when you read on your own and start learning about research in a little bit more detail. In case you you have any specific questions, please do write to me. I will surely try to respond back to you, and wish you all the very best for your research. And you should be really, really passionate about your research. And as soon as you start some research, you should parallelly be thinking about getting that published, because that's very important. Wish you all the very best.